Hi, I'm Rhonda,
And I'm Carol. We're with Shore Financial Wellness.
and I'm going to ask Carol a series of questions on some of the new rules that came about with respect to retirement plans from the COVID crisis. I think if we separate into three categories, it'll be easier. So we're going to talk about distributions, loans, and also required minimum distributions because the rules have changed for our benefit for the during the COVID crisis and the emergency that we're in. So, Carol, can we talk about disbursements, distributions? What kind of rules apply to those?
Well, there's been a big change, but it only lasts until the end of this year, December 30th.
Hmm.
You can withdraw up to $100,000 in distributions from your 401k, 403b, whatever your tax deferred retirement plan is, IRA, without the 10% penalty if you're not 59 and a half. Now,
Hmm.
this money will be taxed over 3 years, so you don't have to pay the tax immediately next year. It will be taxed over 3 years. But the big change is that you will not have this 10% penalty, and that's a big benefit.
And can I put back, let's say I took out funds because of the COVID crisis, like emergency, from my retirement plan. Am I able to put it back in the next 3 years?
Yes, and even if you pay taxes, you started to pay taxes on it, and then you go back to work, or you have some kind of financial benefit where you can pay it back, you'll get the tax refund.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not everyone qualifies for this. You have to have had, quote, adverse financial consequences from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And this could cover, it's kind of vague, but anybody who had COVID, somebody in their family, or if you lost your job or you had some loss of income,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the COVID crisis. So it's kind of broad as to who is affected, but it does allow for people who need cash to get to it.
Yeah, it sounds like a very generous program, and I think it really does point to those that had to go to retirement plans and still may have to
Right.
deal with the current crisis. So let's talk about loans. Many people take loans from their retirement plans. What's changed in terms of the COVID accommodations?
Well, if you've already taken a loan, your repayments have been suspended until the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
For new loans, the amount that you can borrow has been raised to up to $100,000, although I believe your employer has to approve that. And then again, you have the 3 years to repay it.
Mm-hmm. And so after January 1st, I have to start repaying my loan. So this accommodation has only been granted until the end of the year.
Yes.
Okay. And required minimum distributions, those are the distributions that you have to take after you've either reached 70 and a half on a retirement plan, or you've inherited a plan where there's required minimum distributions, not necessarily through an age requirement, but because it's an inherited plan. What are the new rules on that?
Well, the benefit, it could be looked at as a benefit, is this year you do not have to take a required minimum distribution.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much the reason is because the stock market has been so crazy, they don't want people selling into a down market. But it also means that for everyone, it's a real benefit. If you don't tap that money, it can stay in your account, earning tax deferred income, and you don't have to pay additional taxes this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a benefit, and that's for everyone. It's not COVID related.
Mm-hmm. So many of these new rules, they apply to all retirement plans, 401k, 403b, IRAs, Roth. I mean, so there's very little or no exclusion. So many of these rules are going to help just about anybody that has a retirement plan.
Except we think you should be very careful about taking advantage of this. Taking out $100,000 from an IRA or a retirement plan, maybe it's taken you 10 or 15 years to build up that kind of money.
Right.
And if you take it out, you're hurting your retirement. It's going to be very hard to repay it. And there is a provision that you can repay anything that you take out if you want to,
Right.
over and above what you normally would be allowed to add every year. But it's still going to be very hard to replace that money. So we think that you should really think about other sources of cash before you tap this money. Keep in mind it's going to be taxable.
Mm-hmm.
Take it out. You know, if you have no other means, then the government is allowing you to tap this resource. But in general, if you can find another source of funds, that's what we would advise.
Yeah, I agree. Last resort, but it's still an accommodation that can be very helpful for those that really are, you know, that don't have a choice in terms of other resources.
I'm Carol,
I'm Rhonda.
and we'll see you soon. Thank
Take
you.
care.